This is another episode of the Mind, Body and Pipeline podcast. I'm excited for today's conversation with Matt Whatt. Matt and I have known each other for years. We went to school together. We've kept in touch in the last few years after losing touch when we hit university, and I was down in London and he continued to be in Yorkshire. He reached out to me recently. He started to talk to me about how transformational his health, wellness and fitness journey, particularly in the last 12 months, has been to him from a mind and body perspective. When we dived into it a little bit more, I couldn't help but invite him on. So he has another unique perspective into why he exercises, how he juggles life, family, and his job, which is an agency in Leeds. And I know that the listeners are going to get an awful lot out of Matt's perspective. So as ever, we dive into the link between health, fitness, and business success. So let's see what Matt has to say. We're off. Thanks again for coming on. And we've known each other for a number of years. Obviously, we connected recently. When we did that a few weeks ago, we talked about your fitness journey, talked about the business and everything that it's doing with health and fitness, which is amazing from a culture perspective. But for people watching this who might not be as familiar with you or with the business, can you give a quick intro into what you do, what the business does, and then can we move into how your focus on health and fitness has impacted the way that you approach work?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Matt. I'm head of client services at a digital agency in Leeds called Engage. We're a full service digital agency, I should say. So we kind of span everything from technical builds, website builds, all the way through to sort of performance marketing. We work across a number of different sectors. We don't really specialize as such. I suppose our kind of early days were sort of anchored in hospitality. That was kind of where the agency came from. But then over the years, we've kind of grown into lots of different sectors, lots of different disciplines. And yeah, it's a good place to be.
Good. Yeah. Talk about that culture within the agency a little bit with health and fitness. It's amazing. And I did a post about it recently. Loads of people comment and message me privately saying, do you know any more about how they do it?
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we've got this thing called the Olympics, which is essentially like it's a monthly leaderboard. So everybody tracks their health and fitness through Strava. That links to our leaderboards. And then on a monthly basis, all of that activity is converted into monetary value. And then at the end of the month, the combined pot of money then gets given to charity. Or, well, we actually give it to charity at the end of the year, but it just kind of builds throughout the year. So I mean, it's brilliant. It's a real incentive to get people exercising, to get people into their fitness a little bit more. It creates a little bit of competitiveness within the agency, to be honest. Because once a month in our Monday stand-ups, we'll kind of go through the leaderboard, see who's at the top, see who's in, sort of lead positions and stuff. And I think that, there is a bit of sort of a competitive edge to it. And then the other thing is anybody who raises over £30 in a month then goes into a prize draw for an extra day's holiday. So it's like a free day off, basically. So it goes to a spinner, lands on somebody, and then they get a free day off that month.
That's awesome. Has it created any problems within the business? Has there been anybody that hasn't wanted to get involved? Or
no. I mean, if you don't want to get involved, you don't have to. A lot of people don't get involved, which is absolutely fine. It's just, I suppose it's there as a little bit of a positive incentive really to get people exercising, because ultimately we're giving more to charity, and there's also the benefit of getting that extra day off as well. So it's great.
No, that is a benefit. Yeah. Have you used it as a positive in hiring? I've just thought about that then. Is it something you talk about in interview or something that people talk to you about? And therefore, have you attracted people that maybe runners already or they're fairly active already?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I suppose it's kind of it's a really clear sign of what our culture is all about.
Yeah,
it's all about we're all about trying to give people that sort of positive work-life balance, if you like, and all that kind of stuff. Initiatives like that, just I suppose they really drive home the fact that we are that way out as an agency. So I wouldn't say I've personally used it as like a selling point, but when people ask me about the culture, it's always something that I mention. If people are into exercise and things, like they're straight on it as soon as they get in. And there's a guy in my team here, he's into sort of ultra running and things like that. So he's always, every month he's top of the leaderboard, he's raising like over £100 a month. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a great way to feed back in.
It's awesome. And talk about your personal journey with sports. Obviously, we went to the same school. Saturdays rugby, tennis, cricket, five-a-side football at lunch, all that type of stuff. Go from there as to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, sport was big at school, wasn't it? I absolutely loved it. It was a big part of life. Then went to uni, kind of followed the same route that a lot of people do. I think you go to uni, you find booze and partying and everything else. The exercise kind of drops off. So went through that whole journey, which probably, 70-80% of people that go to uni probably follow the same sort of path.
Yeah.
Came out of uni, I never massively got back into exercise. I'd go to the gym every now and again, very infrequently, definitely wasn't routine. And yeah, it was just kind of, very infrequent. And I've been that way, to be honest, for like the last 10 years, probably, until around about a year ago, when I suppose everything started to change for me for the better.
Nice. And what is it that you do now? What's happened in that last year?
So what's happening that last year? A lot's happened, but basically I've got my head straight with fitness. I've got my head straight with nutrition, what I'm putting in my body, that type of thing. And yeah, I've started to take it seriously. So I kind of started right towards the beginning of this year, or maybe end of last year, I can't remember. I knew I wasn't in a great physical shape. So I thought kind of throwing myself into intense exercise probably wasn't the best idea.
Yeah.
So I joined just a local gym for a couple of months just to try and get a level of fitness back up. Nothing too strenuous, but at the time it was strenuous because I hadn't really done it for about 10 years. Yeah. And then from there, I kind of decided to take it a step up. So I joined our local CrossFit gym. Yeah. And then CrossFit, that whole, the whole thing, the whole mentality, the sort of everything about it, really, it's changed my life. And I know a lot of people kind of take the piss and that sort of thing out of things like CrossFit, but it's been amazing for me. It's been absolutely brilliant. So yeah, can't sing the praises high enough, really.
Nice. And you've got a family?
Yeah, 2 kids.
We were talking this morning about the commute into the office.
Yeah,
it's quite probably reasonable, but it's quite a schlep. It's over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, because you for yourself, you have to work out, don't you? You realize that now. That's when we spoke before. It's really good for obviously the physical health, but the mental health.
Yeah.
How do you fit in, obviously, a very demanding job at a fast moving agency, the family, the commute? And the health and fitness, how do you prioritize it? How do you fit it in? What's your structure around that on a weekly basis or?
Yeah, so I suppose I've always known that I'm more of a morning person than an evening person. Like I naturally just perform better in the morning, whether it be work, whether it be exercise, anything. I'm just better in the morning. I think I've always known that. And I heard this is quite cheesy, but I read 5 a.m. Club last year, and I was just kind of listening to that, and this idea that you could get up an hour earlier than the rest of the world, and you can fit so much into that hour. So I thought, actually, well, I am a bit of a morning person. If I go to bed a little bit earlier, I probably could get up at 5 a.m. And that's how I've done it, really. So my alarm goes off at 5. I get up, get sorted, go to the gym for 6, do the 6 a.m. session, get home, sort the girls out, go off to work. So it's kind of it's that 1 to 2 hour slot on a morning that allows me to do it, but I've got to be very disciplined and sort of very routine with it. I am quite a routine person anyway, so that helps. Yeah, so that's kind of my window of the day. If I don't get it in that time, the rest of the day's written off because I'm at work or I've got the kids or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's similar to a guy. There's a chap called Nick Bear, and I've spoken about him a couple of times on here. He owns BPN Nutrition. He's got quite a big following on YouTube, but he gets up at that time because his priority is his health and fitness. So he's like a full-time CEO, part-time athlete. He's done ultra runners, but he's built like a bodybuilder, and he's doing a high rocks event, and he sort of vlogged it all and everything. And he talks about priority 1 being family, and he wants to be up when his girls get up. He's got 2 girls as well, but he has to fit his fitness in, and he's the type of job, and he owns the type of company that he can work out in the afternoon, but if he needs to run every morning. So he needs to be up at 4:30, running at 5 to get back for 6 to have his food for the girls to get up at 6:30. That's obviously similar to you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, well, our eldest gets up a little bit earlier, but our youngest, she's just over 1 now. She doesn't wake up till 7. So I know for sure I can get out, do what I need to do, get back, and I actually won't have missed any of her before she wakes up, which is great. Because I think there's an element of like, when you kind of get into this routine and this mindset, there's an element of you do have to be a little bit selfish to make sure you fit it into your own day. But it's how can you reduce that level of selfishness and impact on your family and anything else that you've got going on. So yeah, I suppose the idea in my head is if I can get out and do what I need to do before like Fran, my wife, wakes up or the kids wake up properly, then you don't get that guilt. And you can kind of fit it in really. So
it doesn't impact anybody else, and therefore that word selfish though, you do have to be selfish in some ways.
Yeah,
definitely do. Is Fran, obviously you've got a 1-year-old, so she'll be fully focused on that presumably, but is she into a health and fitness? Has she had a similar, was she, and she
always has been quite into it. She's definitely not as heavily into it as I am at the moment. Neither of us have ever been in this kind of mindset, but she's always looked after herself. Like, you know, she always eats well, doesn't really drink very much. She's quite enjoys running, things like that. But yeah, at the moment, like with the girls and stuff being the age that they are, it's difficult to fit it all in. But yeah, she's always been quite a positive one in that respect.
Because what I've found is I'm very lucky because Emma's into. We don't have kids yet, but so that's one advantage. There's one thing that we don't need to worry about. But then Emma is as into the HIIT classes that we do as I am, and she's the one driving a lot of it. You know, are you coming to be booked on? Are you coming to this class? You know, so I know that's a distinct advantage. And we got married a bit later on in our sort of early 30s. Well, she was in her late 20s, but early 30s. And I know that there's some other people who are maybe a little bit older than you and I who've been married for like 20 years, and then they get a health kick, and the husband or the wife doesn't join them on that journey, and that's obviously a bit of a challenge. So if Fran's into it, it makes it that little bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's always been a positive. She's always been healthier than me, always. So so I feel better that I'm kind of more at her level now rather than just drinking whatever I wanted to.
Nice bit of internal competition outside of work as well. The last year, big focus. You talked about nutrition, which is great. Do you have to plan that in? Do you take that really seriously? Do you batch cook or do anything like that? Or
look, I wouldn't say I take it mega seriously. Like if I want to eat something a little bit shit, I'm not bothered. But again, I've built a bit of a routine around it. So particularly during the working week, like I have the same thing for breakfast. Well, the same supplements, same thing for breakfast, same thing for lunch, all the rest of it. We do try and batch cook a little bit for dinners. Again, just because it's just easier when you're getting from work and you've got the kids to bed and all the rest of it. It's just easier to kind of sit down. So yeah, I'd say I am quite structured, or we are quite structured, but I don't take it too seriously. So it's like at the detriment of my lifestyle or anything.
Yeah, no, good. No, I think that's the best way to be. And it can be, you can count yourself out of certain social situations if you start doing that, which again, depending on your level of how you want to take it seriously, you'll be bothered about that or not. Some people are quite happy to alienate themselves from a social scenario if it fits into their health and fitness routine. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but yeah, no.
Again, now I think, having young kids, you don't get the opportunity to go out as much as you used to. So that kind of helps. So yeah.
The focus over the last 12 months, talked about routine a lot, which is great. I suppose another way to ask that would be, have you seen a direct impact on work in the last, say, 12 months since you took the CrossFit seriously, since you started planning the nutrition? Can you talk about a little bit about how you're feeling and how it's impacted work?
Yeah, 100%. It's massively impacted work. It's massively impacted work. I guess the easiest way to describe it is I never wake up with the sort of brain fog anymore. That used to be a thing because, again, nutritionally I wasn't great, I wasn't exercising and stuff. But yeah, the brain fog is no longer I wake up feeling fresh every day. I wake up feeling quite on it. I think the days are just a lot clearer. Every day is a lot clearer, which obviously then helps with, the work that you're doing and the way that you kind of interact with people and all the rest of it. So it's been game changing in so many ways.
Yeah, nice, good. Short-term goals, long-term goals, medium-term goals. You got anything? Obviously, Fran, you said was a runner. You got anything? Do you like running?
I've been out running this morning actually. I do enjoy it. I'm not the best at it. I did a 10K a few weeks ago in Leeds, which I quite enjoyed. I think maybe next year I'd quite like to do a half marathon, just see if I can push myself to do it. High rocks has become part of the gym as well recently, so I know there's a big drive around that and a lot of excitement around high rocks at the moment, as you well know. So I quite fancy getting into a competition next year. So I think this year's just been about kind of finding myself and finding my levels and understanding myself a little bit more. Next year I would like to push on and just do some events and stuff, because again it's this whole part of life that I've never really experienced before, going and doing something fitness related on a weekend for fun 2, 3, 4 years ago would just never enter my head. So like, the weekend is for going out for lunch or dinner or going to the pub or whatever. But I can see it now, and I can see how people get so much from it. So I'd like that to be a bigger part of next year, I think. Yeah, no, great. And do the guys at work, do you do like runs as a group, or like Friday, like pub Fridays? Have you guys got like run Fridays? We do. Yes, we've got run club. Run club might have a pub Fridays as well. Well, to be fair, I don't usually go into. I don't do the run club thing just because it's on an evening. I've got to get back. But we do have it. So usually the guys do like a 5K route, and then they end at the pub and go for a beer afterwards. So it's quite a nice social. I've just this last couple of months, I've just started running on a Monday lunchtime with another guy that I work with. So that's become like a bit of a weekly thing. So trying to fit it into work as well as kind of as well as out of hours. Because again, working in an agency, working in this kind of environment, it's quite easy to never take a lunch. If you can get out and you can do a bit of exercise, it kind of gives you that excuse to get away from your desk and just feel a little bit better. Yeah, nice. I want to talk a little bit about setbacks and getting back on track. So since the focus has been there, let's call it the last 12 months, and you've had that sort of defining moments of clarity, lack of brain fog that's affected work and everything. So that routine is really set in. But has there been a period where you drop off that routine? And if there was, how did you get back on track? There's been two specific points in the last year. The first was we went on holiday for a week in the summer and just relaxed for a bit. I did a little bit of exercise while we were there. I went on a couple of runs and just sort of did a few bits, but nothing major. But then when I got back, trying to get back into it, I found quite difficult. So I just had to keep reminding myself of the way that I'd been feeling so far that year, and almost like, if I don't get back into this, I'm going to lose that. I think that thought process almost scared me a little bit, scared me back into getting back to the gym. And 2 days later, I was, 2 sessions later, I was straight back in it. So I think it's just making sure, if you do have those small blips, just thinking about the bigger picture and just pushing through it, and having the discipline, I suppose, to get back into it. Yeah, and that small blip, and it's people. I've even done it for myself this year, where I had a plan. I had to do 3 runs a week, 3 high rock sessions a week, a couple of strength and conditioning sessions on top, and then you suddenly load that volume in. When you get like the niggles and things that come, because I hadn't done anything. We spoke before. I'm very similar to you. Went to uni. Found other things that interested me very quickly, even lost a sports scholarship that I had, but didn't really care about it, all those types of things. I had a sports scholarship to uni where I had to compete in the teams, and then the second year I just didn't compete, so I lost it, quite rightly. And then, fell off the bandwagon, and then jumped back into this sort of world of health and fitness. Stopped drinking. That was a big hit for me. That was 5 years ago in Jan. Yeah. And then started playing tennis again, which I loved. Started playing five-a-side football. Then when this year, really, when it all ramped up around the functional fitness, the high rocks, the CrossFit type stuff with the running layered on top, I felt really bad because I had this plan on this app clear in front of me. Yeah. And you'd feel bad not going out for that run because you were a bit tired, or when you got that niggle. And when I went on holiday, I was the same. I went to the gym a couple of times or went for a couple of runs, but
you've just got to allow yourself to have that break sometimes, haven't you?
Yeah.
And mentally as well, from that routine, you've got to come out of that, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think you do, and I think it's finding the balance as well, because I think, you know, people talk a lot about rest. I think it is important to rest, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Like, you can still do things. It's just maybe not quite to the intensity that you usually would. We're going away at Christmas, and I've already found a gym that's like sort of 5 minutes away from the house, and I thought, right, I'd like to just do like maybe 2 or 3 sessions while I'm out there, just to keep it going.
Yeah.
Obviously dial back from what I would do at home, but just to sort of keep it going over that sort of 2-week period, really.
And will you stick to your routine? Will you do the 5 a.m. stuff?
I probably not, because jet lag's a thing, isn't it? And yeah, so probably not. But I think I'm going to try and go to a couple of early sessions anyway, just to sort of, just keep me in the rhythm. But it'll probably just be more relaxed than what I usually would do.
The fitness communities that you're a part of, I know how tight that community will probably be at that sort of CrossFit, High Roxy, HIIT class type gym that you're a member of. Friendships formed from that, firstly, and then from a business perspective, have you seen any business opportunities come out of that, either hiring or new clients or anything like that? I know that's not particularly your role, but you'll have an eye on that type of thing.
Yeah, not necessarily direct impact, but what I have noticed is I'm mixing with a lot of different people and speaking to a lot of different people that I just usually wouldn't come into contact with. Yeah. People that work in different industries, do completely different jobs and stuff, and I'm finding that quite interesting, just to kind of hear about what other people do. And I think naturally through those sorts of conversations, opportunities, ideas and stuff come up. So whilst it hasn't directly impacted, you know, what I'm doing at the moment, I imagine at some point it probably will do. Yeah, because again, you know, outside of your work and your immediate friendship group and your family, if you're not part of communities like that, you just don't come into contact with other people outside of that very small circle, do you? So I think it's quite an important part of it, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you had to give other people in your position, senior leader within their business, you know, or a founder of an SME, a couple of bits of advice as to I suppose give some context to that question. They want to get into the health and fitness. They know that they should. They maybe started, stopped, all the things that you and I have done that most people have done before. What would be your bits of advice for them in terms of outside of just go out and do it? You know, how would you suggest that they take a bit of a step in? Because you've got a nice journey of how you did it. Would you do the same thing again, or would you do it slightly?
I think I've took it at the right pace. I think first of all, like, just don't dive into it quickly, because you can end up, you know, you push yourself too far, or you injure yourself, or, you know, let's say you went to a High Rocks or you went to a CrossFit class. The first CrossFit class, I ran out and was sick outside. Like, it absolutely annihilated me. And that's quite a scary thing when you've not been in that sort of place for ever, probably. But I went back and I did it again, and I got a bit better, and I just kept going with it. So I think probably just don't jump in too quickly. Keep going with it, and try to sort of learn your limits and that side of things. And I think also, like, try to focus on why you're doing it. I think everybody's got their own reasons for wanting to be healthy or be fit or whatever. Understanding why are you actually doing this, and what are you getting from it? So that's the thing that I sort of remind myself a lot, and I think it keeps me in it.
Amazing. Thank you ever so much.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.